Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my new video. I'm going to be talking about the latest developments happening in Ukraine, and there are some serious escalations involving Britain, and I believe things might escalate even further over the next few days. So before I start, I want to ask you guys to like, share, subscribe, and do what you can to help the channel. And if you want to join my Patreon, that'll be absolutely amazing, or you can buy me a coffee. So without further ado, let's carry on. So the big story of the day is the Russian ship Moskva has been sunk, and Russia is saying that it was a fire in the hull somewhere, while the Ukrainians and the US officials are saying it was definitely hit by missiles. And some of these papers are saying Ukraine missile killed all 510 on board. I don't think that's the case, because Russia have said that they have evacuated all of the people on board, and there have been some pictures showing that the crew was evacuated. Russia has released some pictures showing the ship was being towed, and a lot of the crew was being evacuated while he was being towed. So I don't believe in this story whatsoever. I think it's just Britain just going crazy with fake news again. It was burning for a long time, and there was plenty of time for the crew to be evacuated. It didn't sink straight away. I believe it sunk after about 12 to 14 hours. Plenty of time for crew to be evacuated. So I don't believe in this British tabloid. I think they're just gassing themselves with fake news. So what sunk the ship? I think it's pretty plausible that it was a missile from Ukraine. I believe it is pretty plausible. This is because the US and EU have been sending a lot of missiles across to Ukraine, a lot of anti-ship missiles, anti-air missiles, anti-tank missiles. So they are flooding the country with a lot of these missiles, and I believe it is pretty plausible that it could have been some missiles that have taken down the ship. So they're saying that the system that destroyed the ship is called the Neptune, Ukrainian anti-ship missile system. And this is what the Neptune system looks like. It's mounted on one of these trucks, and it's mobile. And I'm just looking at this picture, and I just don't think it's plausible for Ukrainian soldiers to have a system like this and firing at ships, because Russia would have taken anything like this out long time ago. You know, I don't think Russia would put any ships nearby its shores if it realizes these anti-ship missiles were on shore. And Russia would have taken these out very, very early on in the conflict. So I just don't think it's plausible to have these missile systems which took out the ship. See, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Ben Wallace, Rishi Sunak, Priti Patel, and many other politicians have been barred from Russia. And I believe this is too much of a coincidence. I believe Britain had something to do with that ship sinking, and this is why Russia has taken these actions, and this is why things are going to be escalating very severely between Britain and between Russia. Like I said, it's too much of a coincidence, and I believe Britain had something to do with it. And Russian intelligence knows something that we don't, but they are not going to release it because it's going to be top secret. What's Russia doing right now? Russia has already warned the US and the rest of the Europeans to stop supplying weapons to Ukraine. And they are now, what they're doing now, they are doing more airstrikes into Kiev, more airstrikes around the country. They're going to be doing more sorties, and they are going to ramp up the war now. They're going to escalate it. And so you can see with the response that Russia is coming out with, they're saying that World War III has already begun, and Russia is not very happy with all of these weapons coming into Ukraine. NATO aids Ukrainian offensive with big guns, Russia claims. And you can see here, SAS troops in Ukraine day after Russian TV says World War III with NATO has begun. And regarding the SAS troops, this is another escalation that's happening, especially with Britain. It says SAS troops are now training Ukrainian in how to use British supplied anti-tank missiles after Russia warned that Western involvement means World War III has already started. And you can see Britain is also increasing its rhetoric and its language. It says one country could respond in kind. Armed Forces Minister warns that Britain couldn't go it alone if Vladimir Putin launches chemical agent in Ukraine and take action without the NATO vote. So Britain is saying that they can going alone and join the war, help fighting with Ukraine against Russia. And this kind of language being used by British is absolutely disgusting. You know, he's saying that Britain can go it alone. I mean, Britain cannot fight Russia. It does not have the army or the means to fight Russia. I mean, this kind of language just escalate things, you know, and it's putting the rest of Britain in danger. You know, Russia is a nuclear power with 6,000 nuclear weapons. If it wanted to destroy Britain in a blink of an eye, it can. It can easily destroy Britain. You know, Britain is a very small country compared to Russia. All Russia has to do is fire 10 or so nukes, and that will completely wipe out Britain, completely. And Russia is stepping up airstrikes now in Kiev. They're blowing up a lot more buildings in Kiev. And this also puts a lot of civilians in danger, because there's stories about Ukrainian soldiers driving in civilian cars because they don't have any more armored vehicles left anymore in Ukraine. So they're driving around in civilian cars, transporting weapons, transporting goods. And this puts civilians in danger. So if civilians are driving around in Ukraine, and these civilians could get targeted by Russian airstrikes. So things are escalating very, very severely today, especially with Britain. I personally think Britain is wrong. They need to be de-escalating things, not escalating things. Sending weapons into Ukraine, getting SAS soldiers to train Ukrainian troops. This kind of rhetoric about Britain couldn't go it alone, that is completely reckless, I believe. And you know, it says here, if Vladimir Putin launched chemical agents in Ukraine, I mean, Britain already finds Russia guilty for that anyway. There's newspaper articles all over UK saying that Russia has already used chemical weapons. Russia's done all of these atrocities, especially Bucha and all of these other, you know, war crimes. According to Britain, Russia is already guilty, so it really wouldn't take much for Britain to use an excuse to join the war. You know, they can easily make up an excuse and say, yeah, Russians used these chemical weapons, we're going to go it alone. And absolutely reckless. And all of this despite Britain having so much economic issues. I mean, look at this article here. Misery for Sunak as UK economy growth slows to just 0.1%. New data piles under pressure. And you can see that Britain is not going to be growing anytime soon. You know, it really is heading for a recession. I made a number of videos about this. Please look at my previous videos regarding Britain going into recession. And it's at the worst time that Britain is escalating this, with all of the issues going on in England with regards to the inflation, the high cost of living, the increase in taxes, the increasing of gas bills, increasing of mortgage bills. You know, people are really suffering in UK. And here you are, Britain, you know, telling everyone they're going to go to war with Russia despite all of these economic issues. It's absolutely ridiculous. With regards to Mariupol and Donetsk areas, there's still heavy fighting going on there. And this is going to take some time. I have seen footage on the internet about Russian troops going into bunkers, bunker to bunker, Basically, they're using grenade launchers and they're clearing out these bunkers room by room by room. And that's how they're doing things in Mariupol and in Donetsk. It's going to take time to do things like that. A lot of Ukrainian soldiers are holed up inside these underground bunkers, and it's going to take time going through these bunkers one by one. So that's going to take probably another few weeks. This war is not going to be a quick war. It's going to take time. And in the meantime, what they're doing is attacking Kiev now with missiles. And I believe after they've finished with Mariupol, they've taken full control, and also in the Donetsk areas, they will start heading to Odessa after that. So there's still a lot of fighting still to go. Majority of the Ukrainian soldiers are still holed up in Mariupol. A lot of them are surrendering because they're running out of food, running out of ammunition. But it is the war is ramping up, and you can see by all the escalations that's happening over the last few days, it's just gonna ramp up even more. So that's all the time I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think, and I look forward to reading your comments in the comment sections. I love reading your comments. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Do what you can to help support the channel. And if you can join my Patreon, I'd really appreciate it. Or you can buy me a coffee. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one.